All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks for joining us for our June version of Pacer Cadence. My name is Jeff Gavio. For those of you who might not know me, I'm the growth marketing manager at Pacer. I'm also joined by Kristen Redding, our director of sales, Connor Francis, our client success manager, and Rich Mashanik, our CEO and founder. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We like these sessions to be interactive and engaging. So as we're working through our content today, please don't hesitate to use the chat function, Q&A, or hand raise if you have something to add or something to ask. We always encourage a lot of interaction here so that you get the most value out of these sessions. So I'll be keeping an eye out if you're raising your hand, and I'll be happy to interrupt Connor as he's presenting his piece here. And today's session is focusing on using Pacer to help guide some of your stand-up meetings. So as you are working through some of your projects that you're using Pacer to execute, you may have all hands stand-ups, status checks where you're kind of working through, and Connor's going to teach you some advanced techniques in the application to help you get the most value out of using Pacer to guide those stand-ups. So I'll also add that we use Pacer internally. So we have a quarterly leadership meeting, and we do track all of our progress for our initiatives and goals in Pacer, and it's what guides our quarterly leadership meeting. So it is something that we're using in practice, as well as helping all of our clients use it day to day. So I'll turn things over to Connor to lead our session. And again, please don't hesitate if you have a question or want further clarity to raise your hand or use the Q&A function. Take it away, Connor.
Thanks, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to navigate through the app today. It's going to be a mixture of some things maybe everyone on the phone maybe has not seen before, and probably a mixture of things that you are like, oh, I use that piece of the dashboard every single day. Everyone uses Pacer in such a unique way. I'm lucky enough to be able to talk to every client and see what people are doing. And that's why we have these calls, right? And that's why I meet with everyone that I can one-on-one to share that knowledge. These calls are a great time to level set and sort of just bring that back outside of our scheduled one-on-ones here. So again, going to go through some things that maybe you're like easy and some things you might learn new. So we're going to start with like the most impactful dashboard views to share on a call. A lot of individuals, they learn how to use the tool, they get in there, they build their project, and they send it off. And on the company overview page, if you're an admin or moderator or someone high up at corporate, you probably have access to like everything that's going on. This page can be a bit overwhelming, and I have it toned down a little bit. I have a login here that is on my fake account here that's just meant for Pacer Cadence. You can see our project from last time. If you joined last time, we did layering baselines with the McDonald's project. So you can head to our YouTube and check out that call from last time. But got a couple projects active here, a brand loyalty rollout, a McDonald's opening, and just a regular opening. And I've got a whole bunch of different locations that I've got access to where these projects are active. But as a corporate leader or even a multi-unit manager, I may want to, or I may have scheduled check-in calls with regional people. So what I'm going to do to start out is really show you this feature in the top right corner where you can set custom views depending on how you're managing your team. So I'm going to click on create new view, and this sort of clears my filters drawer here. And I'm going to click on filters, and I actually have a couple regions in here that are built by individual people's names. So I have Alex Smith, who has a couple locations, Andrew Taylor, and James Daniel. Some super plain names that I came up with here. So let me click on Alex Smith, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that filter. You'll see that everything sort of dials down to the locations where all of these locations has Alex Smith as the regional person. So what I'm going to do is go to manage. Oh, sorry. Wow. Go back here. Moving too fast. go back to my filters, take out McDonald's brand, and I'm going to set up Alex Smith here. And I'll go ahead and apply that filter. What I want to do now is save this current view, and I can set it as Alex Smith. I can even say like region. I mean, that's the value I have set up, but I'll go ahead and save that. And I can do the same thing. So whatever I set on my screen is actually going to be for me and my login. So when Jeff logs in to the same subscription, Jeff is not going to see these drop downs of what I have been creating. Only I can see them. So I'll clear this out, create a new view again, and I'm going to create another one that's going to be for Andrew Taylor. And I'll go ahead and apply that filter. And I'm going to go and save this current view. James Taylor, I think it was the name. And I'll go ahead and save that. So what I'm doing is I'm sort of building these canned views right now where I can log in at any time, heading into my one-on-one meeting with any of these regional leaders, selecting this custom view from the drop-down menu and being able to say, okay, well, I have access to everything. Let me scroll down here and see your performance. We can see that by the projects they have active in their region. We can change that to say, how are all the departments in your region coming? So we're really drilling down into one specific area. I don't really know that individuals who are leading groups or who are leading regional leaders or area leaders realize that that's an impactful way to use that filtering function is to save these custom view sets. You can then head over to manage custom views and rearrange them in whatever order. Whatever's at the top is going to be your go-to home view. Another trick that people might not realize is if you notice when I log in, it's always this McDonald's locations because that was the one that was on the top. If I click create new view, it will clear everything and I'll go ahead and save that as maybe like all portfolio. So now my home login is going to be basically no filters. It's the whole entire portfolio. And and that's going to be like my main login. So what I would do is head to the Manage Custom Views button, and I'm going to move all portfolio to the top. So that's my static view every time that I log in. You can always delete these if things are changing. And if something changes with maybe McDonald's locations, there's like a different thing. You can't edit the one that you have. You would basically delete this, head back to your company overview, and rebuild it to the way that you want it. Deleting it first is a good thing to do just because you wouldn't be able to reuse that name again. So if I have McDonald's locations and I try to rebuild that, I'm going to get an error that says, hey, you already have a custom view that says McDonald's locations. So yeah, this is company overview. Point of this is saving these custom view sets based on what's happening. Not even by region, you can choose type or area or brand, or even if there's a very special project that's happening right now that has your main focus, you can set up that project only. It is pretty easy to jump to that quickly by clicking these three dots, this ellipsis, and saying, hey, you know what, filter this overview by this project. You can sort of save yourself a spot in that custom view. The limit does not exist. You can have as many custom views as you want, but it maybe is valued to save one that's by this project and Alex's region, by the brand loyalty project and James's region. That's where you're going to get a lot of value out of setting up these filters. If you apply like 6 filters, we don't want you to have to come in here and then click all 6 again, and then leave this page and come back and have to click all 6 again. So if you're doing pretty intricate layering of drill down, that's definitely worth saving. So I'll pause here. Any questions in the chat or anything, Jeff?
No questions. I'm going to ask a clarifying question,
Yeah.
Connor. You mentioned some clients are using this pretty robustly and others aren't really. For the groups that are using it, who are they using it for essentially? Like, are they using it for their own organization and those sort of stand-up meetings, or are they being asked to provide sort of a top-down view for certain projects or certain departments by like ownership or senior leadership? Who's ultimately being delivered this reporting?
Yeah, it could be both. It all depends on what you're doing, right? So a large corporation who's using, or it doesn't have to be a large corporation, but any company who's using Pacer for more than just the openings, conversions, transitions, and more than just those projects, but those company rollouts where you're like I have here, like updating your loyalty program, changing the menu for kids across all of your locations where you have a three-meal restaurant. Anything that requires a massive update across the company, those are really good times when they're saying, you know what, I've got a lot of different projects going on. I just listed two, right? But if you remember, this will fit 7 tiles here. And then once you have more than seven, you would be able to click on view more. So if you have like 15 projects active, instead of having to come in and click view more and then click on these buttons, saving that custom view based on that type of project in those regions, that's one way people are using it. But I think the other part of that question was like you said
Yeah,
sorry.
is it ever being sort of requested by owners?
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
by
like
ownership.
would an
Yeah.
ownership group be like, hey, I'm curious how these transitions are going, and then this
That's
seems like it would be a really convenient way to be able to display that to them.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to go for is if you are doing it by ownership group, right? Perhaps you're a management company and you have three different ownership groups that you are running locations for. You may want to show them a lot of green on the page, right? So you can set a filter to show only that ownership group. And then, yeah, take a screenshot. And then that's how you can share outwardly. Look at all the green or blue because you're working on things they're in progress ahead of their target date. So you can share with that your basically your wins. Yeah, that's another great way to do that. Obviously, you can screenshot and send that out as you wish. So filtering makes that easy. So yeah.
Great. No other questions yet. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, cool. And just so you know, like those filters that you apply, I know I'm working a lot with like the top area of this page, but I just want to reiterate like that trickles down here as well. So a lot of these locations I have here are from our last webinar with the McDonald's opening. These are just a bunch of different locations. But if I were to apply a filter here in the top right corner, it still does trickle down to the remaining parts of the page here as well. It's like the location team summary and the workload page. So whole entire page just for you, customized however you like it. One more thing that I actually just popped into my head that I want to share here. Um, if you click on the filters, I know that a lot of our clients, I think there's only one person that I know that interacts with, or sorry, two people that I know that interact with this one section of the filter page. If you scroll down all the way, there are some widget toggles that exist. I'm not sure that a lot of people are aware of this. Um, in some cases, maybe one of our clients is only using Pacer for one specific type of project, and maybe that's like an openings. If you're only having one project, really, you can actually turn off the project summary, which is the top section here, and you can apply that. And that'll actually completely remove that widget from the top of the page, which brings things like workload and location team summary more front and center on the login page. Look, it's all about custom preference, and that's why we offer that filters drawer. If that's the way you're using Pacer, that's great. And we can set that up so that the projects are not as important to you and locations are, go for it and change that filter. All right, great. So I'm gonna move on to the dashboard page. There is something that's pretty common on this page, so I wouldn't be surprised if people already know about this. But in the spirit of talking about team check-ins and one-on-ones and running meetings with your team about opening locations or ongoing projects, I really want to reiterate on the dashboard page where we're looking at one location at a time. If I scroll down, this task completion by graph is great. Obviously, it's already set to discipline, and we always talk about how we can change what we want to see here. But responsible user is just another great item. Of course, I didn't assign anything, but if I pop over to my task page and I start assigning tasks to individuals, like here we go, set stuff to myself. Here we go. Save that. And I'll head back to the dashboard here. Now I'll get more value out of this. Going to change this to responsible. Now you can see that this is a grouping of individual names who have been assigned to tasks and what their performance rate is. So Anthony has 12 total tasks here, zero starting soon, one is due soon, and then there's like nine past due and three upcoming. We can drill down here. So I started at company overview, where that's really great for higher level individuals leading other individuals who are leading other teams. So there's quite the org chart goes up quite high there. This part, this page, this dashboard, it's great for individuals who lead one location or corporate individuals who want to come here and check on how are all of the employees performing at this location. This is what's really great about inviting users into your account. The more users you have, the more you can assign to all of those individuals and hold individuals accountable. So now it's not just, oh, Connor has a lot of past due tasks. Well, really, Connor is delegating those out outside of Pacer. If I'm able to actually assign those to people who have user accounts, then we're saying, okay, it looks bad for Connor, but actually he redistributed tasks to James and Anthony. So now we can see where all that accountability lies throughout the entire team. We'll follow up with the appropriate individuals. If I didn't assign those out, imagine how many emails I'd be getting, or even comments in the tasks, which we'll go to in a second, answering on behalf of all other people who are responsible for those tasks. So just a great value piece. A lot of people give us great feedback on the responsible. So again, just want to reiterate that on this call. All right, great.
No questions yet?
Yeah. All right, I'll head over to the task page. So heading over to the task page, I'm running my weekly check-in call. We're doing an opening here at this location in Austria. I have all of my columns here. And don't forget, you can click on the column customizer in the top right corner, and I can turn on and off a whole bunch of different columns. For me, when I log in, it's going to remember which columns I have on and which columns I have off. And not only that, it's also going to remember where I left my columns, because if you're not aware of this, you can actually pick up and drag your columns and move them around to different areas of the page. And again, Pacer will remember that for you in your login. So this is how I like my page. Jeff or Kristen and Rich, they might like to see something different. So however they set it, that's for them in their login. This is unique to me. Um, I would suggest as a openings project manager or team leader, this is how I would run my check-in calls with my team. I may not really need additional info, and I don't really need the baseline name for this call. I want to give a little bit more room to other things that take priority. So I'm going to turn off location, going to turn off what baseline that task is associated with, give myself a little bit more breathing room here. I'm sharing my screen. And what I'm looking for right now is just past due tasks. And I can even use the filter up here for past due tasks. It's a canned item here. But all of our past due tasks are populating to the top right now because they're all having target dates that are way in the past. So you may notice that I have on my last comment column. The last comment column is going to populate the latest comment that was made on this task. So let's look at the first one. It's asking us to switch insurance providers, and it looks like we're waiting to receive a bid from a third agency. What I've instructed my fictional team here is that if a task is past due, my expectation is that before our Tuesday call at 9 a.m. Eastern, everyone who's responsible for their tasks should be writing in so that it's the latest comment made on that task why this is still pending as past due. If there were no actions since last Tuesday at 9 a.m., you could basically leave that comment there. But it's not really hurting anything if you're saying, okay, well, I made the last update this day. I'm still waiting to receive this bid. So now I can say like latest update, still waiting. And once I post that comment, save it, now I can see suddenly that since that was the latest comment that was posted on this task, that's what's going to show up in this column. This makes it so much easier to make a 1 hour, 2 hour call go much quicker because I can just run through and, we all don't need to be reading the same thing on the screen. I can quickly see, okay, well, that's acceptable to me. It looks like we're still waiting, and we'll move on to the next one. This one doesn't have a comment. Obviously this task is not assigned, so maybe that's what's holding us back. I need to assign this task so I can have someone be held responsible to post a comment on why things are past due. So really great piece here. Highly recommend that. And if you're not running your daily stand-up call and you don't really need that column, just go ahead and turn it off and save that, and then adjust your screen for the next time you're doing that call. I've seen lately a few people pick up on this. I share this obviously in most calls, but I think people sort of forget. And I've reiterated a few clients actually within the past few weeks, and they have given me feedback that they've instituted that, and it's been a game changer. And it sort of does two things at once because not only are you having more effective calls, but I would hope that there's some sort of domino effect where emails start becoming a bit less chaotic. So everyone starts to see this weekly check-in call. If Jeff is running it, we know Jeff's expectation. This is what we're supposed to be doing. This is how this call runs. And it starts to give this muscle memory every day, every Tuesday, 9 a.m. This is the expectation. That now, if I'm ever questioning anything on, hey, I'm in the sales department and I'm waiting for revenue to set something up so that I can go forward with whatever I'm doing in sales, I don't need to email the revenue person. I can actually come in here and let's filter. I can filter by like the revenue department. Let's see if I have that in my account here. I don't, so let's just choose finance for now. I'm going to choose finance, and I might be looking for a specific task and like, oh, complete the operating forecasts. Looks like I need that, and I can click on it. And if the expectation is to leave comments, I could just read here. What's the status update? What's holding them back? Why is it not done yet? And then I can even converse in here. It sort of reduces that like, well, only the finance person and the salesperson know what's going on because they communicate offline directly via email. If it's happening here, then we're all in the know on what's going on. In the same breath, we all can see each other's tasks. It's designed in that specific way so that we're all aligned. We don't really want to hide stuff unless you have different communities for corporate or team level tasks. But yeah, I'll pause here. I'm sure there's probably nothing in the chat right now, but I'll just double check.
Nothing in the chat. I just want to sort of clarify the comment you just made, Connor, about like moving offline from email into Pacer. Would you recommend like accomplishing that just by tagging the other user? Like if I'm the finance person and I need information from sales, could I just use the tag to tag them in sort of to comment on wherever the task status is?
Yeah, you might want to find that task. Maybe the latest update hasn't been made in 2 weeks. You can actually tag someone. So we'll tag Scott and say, hi, can you please share latest update? And we can go ahead and just post that. Yeah. And it'll tag that individual. Looks like that person doesn't have an email in their account. So I'll just tag myself because I know that one does. We go ahead and post that, and I will get an email directly saying, hey, I've been tagged in a comment. That's that instant notification for me to say, hey, I need to go respond. But the answer and question are happening publicly for everyone to see, which makes that easier for individuals to understand what's going on here.
Great.
So yeah,
and then at the risk of stating the obvious, when you tag somebody in like that, that will then show up in the last comment column as the last comment, correct? Like the tag doesn't impact anything there.
That's right. Yeah. tag, you'll
Excellent.
still see that tag person's name. Yeah. Um, One other thing is if I head over to the admin pane and I'm going to go down to task config, and there are task tags here. Um, we're probably pretty familiar with setting up task tags at the baseline level, but I have one here that's for risk, priority, blocker. So this list of tags can be used when you are creating a baseline and you are tagging tasks. Maybe you want to project outwards to your team. This is a security task. This is a, a waiver request task, or whatever that may be. As a user, I also have access to that same list of tags. So let me click on insurance provider. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a blocker. Or, maybe there's like roadblock is probably the better word for this, but I'll go ahead and save that. What I've done now is I've added that blocker tag. If I open up that task again, you can see that I have the ability to remove it. Maybe there's a day where it's no longer a blocker. Um, and you know what? Let me go ahead and add blocker to this one as well, and I'll save that. Now, maybe when I'm running my check-in calls, I also want to add the tags column. And to make my calls go pretty much straight lined here, I can also say, you know what, we're not going to go over just past due tasks. We're just going to go over everything that's a blocker. Maybe this is like a management call on Thursday that's a follow-up to Tuesday's calls. You know how it goes, guys. Meetings about meetings about meetings. So we'll have our tag column here that's blockers. On this call, maybe it's just the executive level team, and we're just going to focus on removing any blockers on Thursday afternoons so that the team can get stuff done before Tuesday. So now what I've done is I've given the task doer the opportunity to communicate upwards by adding a specific tag. We've given them blocker, priority, and maybe risk, and we've taught them, hey, these tags are available. Here's when I expect that you might want to use them. And then the executive team can get together and say, all right, well, these are all of the tasks that task doers have marked as a blocker. Let's go ahead and discuss these and see how we can remove this to be a blocker and help them get their task done. Another great way to communicate in the app, so that way we're projecting this upward to management without having to play this email game. We're using Pacer as our guiding light on what we're trying to focus on, what we're trying to get done, and get that done as fast as possible. So I love the tag feature there as well. And we can even filter by multiple tags. At that, you may not want to come in here and set those filters up all the time. So what can we do to get around that? Um, some of you may have access in your plan where you can set a custom task filter as well. That's similar to the company overview page. I can set up custom filters for me that I can access, and Jeff and Kristen, they can set up whatever they want on their screen. It's custom to your login. So I'll click on filters. I'd like to add the tag blocker, and I want it to be only for the opening project. And, I don't really care what department it is. I need to see all tasks that have the tag blocker that are part of the opening project. And I will update my filters, and it will return just that subset. I can click on this drop-down menu, come down here, and actually save my current view. So this is going to be opening blockers, and I'll save that. Now, every time I want to check in on progress on any tasks that have been marked as a blocker, I can go ahead and just say, hey, you know what? Show me my opening blockers, and it will pull those filters that I've set right away for me. So I don't need to always keep applying that layer of filters. Same exact speech I would give you from the company overview page. Call on that just using that button. And same thing, we can come in here and manage those custom views. And I can say, you know what, I use this pretty much all the time, so let's move it up to the top. And your home view is always going to be tasks. If you remember from the company overview page, whatever I had up top was my go-to. In this particular case, we're not going to be able to replace tags, but I've now put opening blockers at the top of my list. A pause for questions there.
Nothing in the chat at the moment. Connor, one question for you, because I know a lot of our customers run really complex projects, whether it's an opening or, a company-wide rollout. How do you recommend to sort of layer on tags and all of these other functionalities with things like milestones? Because, a milestone, we define that as something that could impact a go live date.
Yeah.
How do all of these other functionalities complement, the milestones, which are kind of like these things need to be done on time for us to make our deadlines?
Yeah, it's a great call out. So let's flip back to our tasks, right? So we're gonna just clear out all of our filters basically. Sorry, my computer's running a little slow. So got everything fully baked out here. You can see that I have milestones, and like Jeff mentioned, obviously they're milestones for a reason, right? They're super important. So how do we layer in? Yes, blockers are definitely something I'm being communicated to, but or tags that can be added, but I have a vested interest in milestones as well. You could use the drop down filter. We offer something here that's just for milestones only. So I can click on milestones and that will return all of those. But you may want to say, okay, well, this is a pretty important filter. Maybe you want to do milestones only, toggle on, and has the tag for blocker. It won't return anything because I haven't set that up, but let's say, SWOT analysis suddenly has a blocker tag. I can do the same thing, right? So filters, I want milestones only and has the tag for blocker. Update those filters, and I can set this as a completely different value. So I want to save this. These are milestone blockers. That's a whole new subset that I want to check on. I want to be able to have that at my fingertips, easily for this location. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, so we have baked in the milestones filter. And on top of that, within the filters drawer, you have a toggle where you could just see milestones only while layering in other filters on top of that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for explaining. We have about 10 minutes, give or take, left in our scheduled time. So if anybody does have any questions, I want to invite you to make sure that you get those in. Pause for a moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, still nothing coming in. So if you had any wrap up, Connor, feel free to run through that.
One more thing we mentioned on the on our call agenda was like feedback. While I have the audience here, I thought it'd be a good thing to sort of just go over this. We obviously are using this call to talk about how to run a stand-up meeting, some tips and tricks on communicating forward and backwards in the application by using comments, tags, things like that. Having one-on-ones with pre-baked filters and saving those filter sets. But in the spirit of talking about back and forth conversation, I really want to reiterate about how there's the feedback button in the task drawer. And so we mentioned it's how to leverage comments and tags on the fly for user feedback and collaboration. And it sort of just sparked my eye with 10 minutes left. I really want to just reiterate the feedback button here. So you may want to make a comment about, I'm stuck on this task or something, something doesn't make sense, but maybe sometimes people have a question and that's totally okay. We may want to tag our project coach and say, hey, project coach, where do I order these one sheets from that I'm being asked to order in my in my task here? But if I'm asking this question, I bet there's a lot of other people that are asking the same exact question because it's not clear in this task where we're supposed to order from. Maybe we have a deal with WB Mason or something like that, right? Where we get discount. You can click on this feedback button and you can choose something like this task needs more information. Please add in best place to purchase these from. And I can go ahead and submit that feedback. So putting that feedback here will go to whoever is creating these tasks at the admin level, and everyone on this phone is admin's level or so. So you know probably where this goes. But you have the ability to basically update the templatized version of this task from your baseline, and it will automatically trickle down to all locations and reinforce a better written task or task that has more information or fixing a link. Looks like we provided a link already, so that was probably pretty good. But another two-way communication to make things better. We talked a lot about running a daily stand-up or running check-ins. This is really good for the long-term fix and crowdsourcing, better written tasks, better distributed information. We always want to keep things up to date. So if you're going to take anything away from this call and you're going to host to your team, hey, my new expectation is that you are putting comments on tasks that are past due. You may want to also use that time to say, and please provide some feedback. This helps us make projects better, update our tasks with times that business is changing, keep things up to date, rather than just it all relying on one person to comb through that one by one. Yeah.
Yeah, great call out. Major time
Yep.
saver.
Yeah. Huge. The beauty of using Pacer, right?
Great. 8 minutes left. Any last minute questions, comments? Anybody seeking further clarification on anything Connor showed today? Okay, I'll give people a couple seconds to type. And just to wrap it up, we did record today's session. It will be shared back to you likely by the end of the day on our YouTube. It'll be an accessible link. So if you do want to circulate this to colleagues, team members, we definitely encourage you to do that. And as always, if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to one of our team members here. All right. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. That'll wrap it up for today. Until
Thanks,
next time,
everyone.
thank you, Connor.
Yeah.
Thank you to
Take
our
care.
attendees.